The accuracy's there. Oh, everything about Shedeur Sanders screams he's the quarterback. But if people are going to negative in April, they're going to be negative now because they're going to look, oh, where is he ranked? Forget that. Look at the interceptions that were off of Jerry Jeudy, off of Judkin's shoulder. Batted balls like Burrow had one yesterday, batted in a pick six. You blaming Burrow for that? No. You're blaming Shadur for a couple batted balls that were picked off? You shouldn't, okay? So you're going to be fair here. So really, when
Mel Kiper Jr. is exposing the Cleveland media for lying about Shedeur Sanders' stats, and he is not holding back whatsoever. If you've been following the Browns this season, you know it's been a roller coaster of emotions, disappointments, and rare glimpses of hope. But what you might not know is that behind the scenes, there's been a narrative being pushed by certain members of the Cleveland media that Shedeur Sanders has been a disappointment, that he hasn't lived up to expectations, and that the Browns need to look elsewhere for their quarterback solution moving forward. And according to Mel Kiper Jr., these media personalities are flat out lying about the rookie quarterback's performance.
That's not changing. That's not changing, though.
It's in great weather and brutal weather conditions. If you're going to sit there and tell me you weren't impressed with the rookie year of Shedeur Sanders.
Kiper declared in no uncertain terms that these media persons who are selling this narrative that Shedeur Sanders was not good this season are lying about him. Let that sink in for a moment. One of the most credible voices in football evaluation is calling out local media for dishonesty. This isn't just a difference of opinion or a debate about quarterback rankings. Kiper is saying that the facts are being twisted, the context is being ignored, and the truth is being buried under a mountain of negativity and bias. So what exactly did Mel Kiper say that has everyone talking? Well, he exposed the hypocrisy and double standards that are being applied to Shedeur Sanders in a way that is both damning and impossible to ignore. Kiper pointed out that yes, Shadur had interceptions this season. Nobody is denying that. Turnovers happened, mistakes were made, and there were moments where the rookie quarterback looked like exactly what he is, a first-year player adjusting to the speed and complexity of the NFL game. But here's where Kiper absolutely destroyed the Cleveland media's narrative.
Sanders screams he's the quarterback, but if people are going to negative in April, they're going to be negative now because they're going to look, oh, where is he ranked? Forget that. Look at the interceptions that were off of Jerry Jeudy.
He asked a simple question that nobody in Cleveland seems willing to answer. Why can they talk so negatively about Shedeur Sanders for having interceptions, while simultaneously praising Joe Burrow, who was also throwing interceptions this season, as a great player in their eyes? The hypocrisy is staggering when you really think about it. Joe Burrow is an established veteran, someone who has been in the league for several years, who has had the benefit of multiple training camps, countless first-team reps, and the full support and development of an NFL organization. And yet, when Burrow throws interceptions, it's explained away as bad luck, poor offensive line play, or receivers not being on the same page. But when Shedeur Sanders, a rookie in his very first NFL season, throws interceptions, suddenly he's not franchise quarterback material? Suddenly he's a bust? Suddenly the Browns need to move on and find someone else? The logic doesn't add up, and Mel Kiper is calling it out for exactly what it is: a double standard rooted in something other than honest football analysis. And here's the kicker that makes this whole situation even more frustrating for anyone who cares about fairness and accuracy. Shedeur Sanders is just in his rookie year. He's a first-year player who came into one of the most challenging situations any rookie quarterback could face. This wasn't a situation where he was drafted by a team with a solid offensive line, established weapons, and a patient fan base willing to let him develop. This was Cleveland, a franchise desperate for answers, dealing with injuries, inconsistency, and the weight of decades of quarterback failures. Mel Kiper described in detail how all of what the media is saying is wrong, because Shedeur Sanders, before the season started, did not have a single first-team rep. Let me repeat that for emphasis. Not a single first-team rep. The Browns threw him into the fire to see what he could do with it. They didn't give him the proper preparation, the necessary experience with the starting offensive line, or the rhythm and timing that comes from working with the first-team offense throughout training camp and the preseason. They essentially said, "Here's the ball, good luck, and we'll see if you sink or swim."
So really, when you look at what Shedeur did this year, not having any training camp with, never with the ones, defense, offense, be thrown out there, playing in brutal weather conditions, not in domes.
And you know what? Shedeur Sanders didn't just survive. He showed flashes of brilliance. He demonstrated poise in the pocket. He made throws that had Browns fans believing that maybe, just maybe, they had finally found their quarterback of the future. Mel Kiper was right about Shedeur, and he's been vindicated by what we've seen on the field. This young man was doing it even in the toughest of weather conditions, the kind of late-season Cleveland games where the wind is howling, the snow is falling, and veteran quarterbacks struggle to complete basic passes. But despite all of this, despite the context, despite the circumstances, the Cleveland media keeps lying. They keep pushing narratives that don't match reality. They keep moving the goalposts every time Shedeur Sanders accomplishes something positive. And no example is more egregious than what we've seen from people like Jason Lloyd. Let's talk about Jason Lloyd for a moment, because his coverage of this situation perfectly encapsulates everything that Mel Kiper is calling out. Jason Lloyd was not saying a single word when Shedeur Sanders was not even having any first-team reps. Where was his concern then? Where were his articles questioning the coaching staff's decision to not give their rookie quarterback proper preparation? Instead, Lloyd was busy praising Dillon Gabriel throughout the entire offseason, hyping him up as the potential answer for the Browns, and not even asking for once when Shedeur would get a chance to have any first-team reps.
Get them into the right calls. I think he can get them lined up. I think he can complete passes, get the ball out quickly, and keep the chains moving and not turn the ball over. And that's what they're looking for right now.
Think about that. Lloyd was perfectly content to let Shedeur sit on the sidelines without proper development opportunities while showering praise on another quarterback. But then, once Dillon Gabriel failed and Shedeur got his chance and started having some wins, what happened? The same Jason Lloyd suddenly started spitting hatred toward Shedeur Sanders, writing articles and making statements saying that he cannot be the QB1 for the Browns next season.
Dillon Gabriel will become the first quarterback to make his initial NFL start in one of the international games. Jason Lloyd with his thoughts on Dillon Gabriel.
I actually think Dillon is going to be competent. I don't think he's going to be a star. I don't think he's not throwing for 300 yards or anything like that. But I do think he's going to get them into the right calls.
The audacity is breathtaking. The lack of self-awareness is stunning. And the dishonesty is exactly what Mel Kiper Jr. is exposing for the entire football world to see. Where was Lloyd's journalistic integrity when it actually mattered? Where was his advocacy for giving the rookie a fair shot during the offseason? He was silent. Completely silent. But now that Shedeur has actually stepped up and shown what he can do despite impossible circumstances, suddenly Lloyd has plenty to say. And none of it is positive. But let me set the record straight right here and right now, because somebody needs to speak the truth in the midst of all this noise and negativity. Shedeur Sanders is the only hope for the Browns right now. That's not hyperbole. That's not being a blind supporter or ignoring his mistakes. That's simply acknowledging the reality of the Cleveland Browns quarterback situation and recognizing what Shedeur has already shown in his limited opportunities. When we talk about Shedeur's performance, there is absolutely no doubt about the impact he's made. Let's look at the facts, the actual numbers and game results that the Cleveland media seems determined to ignore or downplay. Take that first Raiders game, for example. Shedeur threw his first NFL touchdown and racked up 206 passing yards. His performance, coupled with Myles Garrett's defensive brilliance, led the Browns to victory. That's a winning debut. That's a rookie quarterback stepping into a hostile environment and delivering when his team needed him most. This wasn't some garbage-time performance against a prevent defense. This was meaningful football in a game the Browns needed to win. Shedeur showed composure, accuracy, and the ability to make plays when the pressure was on. He connected with his receivers, managed the game effectively, and did exactly what the coaching staff asked him to do. And the result was a victory. But did the Cleveland media celebrate this? Did they acknowledge that maybe, just maybe, they had something special developing? Of course not. They moved the goalposts and found new reasons to criticize. But it gets even better. Let's talk about the Titans game, because this is where Shedeur Sanders really showed what he's capable of when given the opportunity to play. In that game, Shedeur brought the Browns back single-handedly into the game with an absolutely phenomenal performance. 4 touchdowns and 364 passing yards. Read those numbers again. 4 touchdowns, 364 yards, in one game, as a rookie, without having had proper first-team reps in training camp. Those are elite numbers by any standard. Those are the kind of statistics that veteran Pro Bowl quarterbacks put up in their best games. And Shedeur Sanders did it as a rookie who was essentially thrown into the deep end without a life jacket. He dissected the Titans' defense, made plays with his arm, showed incredible awareness in the pocket, and led his team back into a game that looked like it might be slipping away. Are these numbers not visible to these media haters? Are they not watching the same games as the rest of us? Or are they so committed to their predetermined narrative that they're willing to ignore objective evidence that contradicts what they want to believe? The 364 yards weren't just empty yardage accumulated in a blowout loss. These were meaningful yards that moved the chains, sustained drives, and put the Browns in position to compete. The 4 touchdowns weren't flukes or products of broken coverage. These were well-thrown balls, proper reads, and excellent execution under pressure. Mel Kiper is absolutely right when he says they will keep on hating him. And Shedeur Sanders is still going to get even better. Because here's the thing that the Cleveland media doesn't seem to understand or doesn't want to acknowledge. Rookie quarterbacks develop. They learn from their mistakes. They get better with experience and proper coaching. The interceptions that Shedeur threw this season are part of the learning curve that every young quarterback goes through in this league. The fact that Mel Kiper Jr. felt compelled to speak out so forcefully tells you everything you need to know about how egregious this media coverage has been. Kiper has been in this business for decades and has seen it all. Yet he felt the need to call out the Cleveland media specifically for their treatment of Shedeur Sanders. That's significant and shouldn't be overlooked.